very awesome. Anyway, now that we are done with this, let's also close this one. I mean, it's not like I stand by everything I wrote in there, but still. So, what is it that I did this week? Let's talk a little bit about that, and then go on to talk about other things. So, I submitted GB Robot to Steam again. I added achievements and all that, and it got accepted. I can even install it now, but I'm not going to because I don't have to. I own the game already, and I have it on my PC in several iterations. Anyway, so there are like achievements here now. For example, unfortunately, I can't really show the I like this. I think this is still my most favorite achievement, minimum wage. Earn 15 coins for yourself within a single work shift, which is completely random. You can be as good as you want in the shooting like things to make coins appear. Like, you can't control how many coins you get. This is also great. Wage theft, earn your boss 100 million coins total. It's like, those are probably, like, this is a bit more likely than this because this is incredibly tedious, but it's meant to be tedious. It's slightly less tedious because I built a combo system in the coin generation algorithm that only benefits your boss and not yourself. Anyway, so I did that. I also started the process of pitching GB Robot to publishers. I spent some time thinking over the week after I made the pitch deck, and after I started making a list of which publishers I want to contact. And if you watched the devlog video I put out on last Monday, I talked a little bit about me having to restrain myself to not just decide to make the game larger, which I'm still not going to. I think though I found a good middle ground, so to speak. If anything, GB Robo is very much about finding a good middle ground for everything. No, it's not, but yeah, I think I found a good middle ground for that, in that I picked a bunch of publishers where I'm kind of fairly optimistic that they do have the ability to pay money for making games and not only port the game to consoles and whatever. And I changed the pitch slightly for those publishers, in that I said, oh well, the game is only halfway done, and I'd like to add 4 more levels and a bunch of other stuff, and I need that amount of money for it because it's basically another year worth of work. And I'm just going to see what happens. I'm not expecting any, I'm generally not expecting any reaction, even from the pitch that only says, please help me port the game to consoles, because I know how things are, and I am fairly pessimistic about this kind of stuff in general. But I thought it might have been it was a good opportunity to just practice this stuff, and also just to practice for myself to say that this is what I feel I'm worth. Because I'm very much afraid of this kind of stuff in general, and I spent a lot of time thinking about, I put a specific number out, but I spent, I think, way too much time calculating if this is justified, asking for that much money. But then I thought, well, it has to be a significant upgrade to what I'm getting out of welfare right now, because otherwise why would I sign off a portion of my game's rights and sales? So this is me saying, okay, this is what I need to live without getting welfare, plus this is what I think me signing off these rights and partially the ownership of my game off too. And I think that's a perfectly fair amount. It's still I think in terms of what other games might be getting, still incredibly low, but anyway, this is what I went through and what I did, and I'm very curious to see if I'm getting any kind of reaction from that, and what happens out of this. I am still going to contact more publishers in terms of hey, I would like to bring this game to console. Would you help me with that? Just to see what happens there. And I also gave myself kind of a deadline until which I'm waiting to get a reply from like quote-unquote money publishers. This is how I like refer to those that I ask for money. And if I'm not getting any kind of reaction from them, or like only rejections until then, I'm just going to like go on, proceed, and release the game in the state that it's in now, because it's perfectly fine and playable. I still would like the idea to add more levels to this, because I think the game is like what the game has and how it plays would justify adding more stuff to it. But it's not something where I, for myself, if I only have to develop the game with my own money, would decide that, yeah, I'm going to spend another year on it. No, I'm perfectly fine with releasing the game that, like in the state it is now. But if someone wants to give me more money to like make more stuff for it, I'd happily do so. Also, like, just because I won't add content now and release the game in the state that roughly the state that it's in now, there's still some work left, but not so much. Doesn't mean that if, like, for example, the game does fairly well, that I won't go back and do the work anyway. But it's the thing between like deciding, okay, how much is it, like, is this worth like investing my own resources into it, and at which point is it only worth if I'm getting something out of it that like substantially changes my living situation, so to speak. So I have to make these calls, and I think I found a good compromise or good middle ground here between me like trying to do more out of this and trying to put myself more out there and trying to make like certain demands that I'm not used to making, and at the same time being realistic enough and being like mindful enough of like my own limitations and my own like situation where I'm in, like saying, okay, if I'm not getting these resources like that I need to like justify spending another 8 to 12 months on this game, I'm just putting it out in the state that it's in, see what happens, treat the game and like try to maintain the game in the way that I'm able to, and just move on to the next thing and try the same process again. Kind of like that's at least the idea. We'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, that's like basically this week. It's been fairly eventful, even though like I sometimes had days where I felt like I haven't really started doing stuff until like 3 p.m. in the afternoon or whatever, because life sometimes, like, this is like the funny thing with ADHD and like still like dealing with depression, even though it's very much in remission right now. It's like sometimes you just don't have the energy. Like you just spend hours like staring somewhere and like suddenly realize, oh wait, what? How is it already this late? Anyway. So, this is strong. I want to add more stuff to this game today. Let's just show you what I mean. I hope this all works. I also did, for like the publisher pitching stuff, I created a separate, like, I branched out the project and created a demo where I just like, where I had to cut off a bunch of stuff and had to do some weird stuff to the save system and other things, just to make sure that like you can only access a certain amount of levels, and for example that it skips the intro stage, because I felt maybe forcing people to spend 2.5 minutes in a very deliberately tedious intro stage isn't the best idea. So I made it so that they can play the intro stage if they want, but I make it very clear that once they're in there, the only way to get through it is either to play the game or play through it, or to exit the stage. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah, this seems like this all seems to work. Good. So one thing I want to add today, I'm just going to show it in this level because it's the easiest way. I like this level because it, like, this for some reason is like the perfect demonstration level for me. I have no idea why, but it summarizes, like, it's just like the best like I think it's the best looking level as well, and it has like a good like combination of like different stage elements and all that. Anyway, what I want to add today is, you see how these enemies are shooting and there are no particle effects when they're shooting? Like it's just like the projectiles appear out of nowhere. This, like, again, like especially when you start adding more particle effects, this kind of stuff gets more and more like, more and more obvious. So I want to add more like, you know, short flashes and like other kind of stuff to this, which I'm going to make. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated or anything. It just has to be kind of nice looking. And also what I want to do is I want to make sure that they kind of look nice in both directions. Because I could do, like, I don't know, I could do something like this. First of all, let's, I have no idea why this always disappears, but who cares? I could do something like this. Whatever, this was the wrong thing. Like this. And then it explodes into like, into this direction, like to the left. The problem if I were to do that, sometimes enemies shoot from a different direction and that would look weird. So I would have to like build something in there that flips this sprite if like the shot goes in a different direction. But that's programming, and I don't want to do that because it makes things. I would have to do like go into much like deeper into each different projectile to make this work. So I'm kind of trying to do this like not in a way that's where it's like very directional and more like in a. You see, you have this blob of like, I guess, smoke. Actually wasn't all that like of a wrong size, if I'm honest. Also, let's do it this way. Also increase the size of canvas to 24 by 24. Be careful not to spill any water here. And then, so this is the first thing, and what I want to do now is kind of like in the same way as this thing here, where we just have like smoke dispersing, like, you know, kind of like that. So we have this thing, then we start an empty frame. And now we have these variously sized I think there needs to be something down here as well. These variously sized smoke things, and what I'm doing now is probably put my coffee cup somewhere else. Have them disperse like evenly in each direction, so that I hopefully can use this sprite for any kind of like situation where like something might be shot out of something else, basically. By the way, the music you might be hearing in the background, I have no idea how loud it is from the Amiga game Chaos Engine. It's occasionally fairly long, like this video is like 26 minutes, so it's a bit monotonous, but it's okay. Like, kind of what I wanted to do today. Sometimes like things are weird. Let's just see how this looks. Let's get out of here. Center. That's too fast. 12 frames per second I think is okay. Let's keep it like that for now. And yeah, I'm going to make this very easy. Enemies, projectile, object. Okay, other animation end instance. Okay, now let's go in here. Instance, create layer X, Y. Okay, this again is like a very easy thing. It really depends right now on how it looks. I hope it looks okay-ish so that I can just keep it. Would be great. And also, this might have a problem in that that it doesn't track the Y position of the enemy that's shooting. So it's kind of, or like any kind of position, so it's kind of like getting left behind when an enemy moves, which might look weird. I have to see. Really. For this one, it's a bit too high, if I'm honest. But the projectiles are coming out of it like at like a too high of a position anyway. I think these all shoot it. Yeah. Yeah, that's oh god. I could maybe I mean, first of all, like one thing that kind of annoyed me here is it's too egg-shaped. I think that's a problem, really, if you think about it. So maybe we should put this here, put this further here. I think that looks a bit better. First of all, still, like, I'm still not happy with how it's, and this might be just, might be hard to rectify actually. I mean, I could do this, like, I could just put this here somewhere, like to have it like appear further up, but this doesn't change the fact that the cloud of smoke kind of appears in the middle of the enemy sprite and not exactly at the position where the gun is. I should also probably maybe set up a testing chamber for this and not go into the level because it's a bit slow. Also, let's do this. Why did I fall down here? This looks, I mean, this looks worse because I like put it in the wrong thing, but it's like worse in general. This is what I get from being lazy, I guess. I guess what I could do, I think, let's try this, like, just to see how this looks. What kind of speed value are they using? Blah 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 blah. H speed. Okay. This goes to the right, so it's this. Typo? Let's see. Now I do the thing that I actually didn't want to do. So go me, I guess. Still, I haven't set up a testing room. Oh well. It also doesn't work, so who cares? So let's do something else and see how this looks. Really not a big fan so far. I also think that the yeah, wait a second. I think this needs to like disperse a bit quicker. Let's do 24. Like this might be a bit too fast, but we'll see. Also, did I change the? Yeah, I think I like loaded the new sprite in there. Oh. I mean, 5 frames is definitely too late. I mean, I guess what I could also do, but that's getting close to okay. Now I have to go into every enemy and like set the sprites like manually, and I don't want to do that. That's work. I don't want to do work. The problem really is if you set an alarm. What I found is that basically 3 frames is the minimum, or like the lowest like time that you can set. And you know what? Let's stop this for a second. I think I still have like enemies sitting on. Oh, those are not the ones that I need. I need one of you. they're not getting pushed into a floor, into the floor, like whatever. Let's see. This is the funny thing is here, like, that I'm now starting to make things about as complicated as they, like... I'm fairly sure that this is about as quick as, this. Fairly sure. What I kind of want is just like take one more frame. Like, don't do it immediately. Just one more frame. Then it should look okay in most cases, I think. Or I could just try and see, okay, can I do like an alarm with 2 frames? I could. Let me think. The problem here is that, like, especially this shot is kind of a projectile that is being used by a lot of different enemies. And just because it looks good here doesn't mean that it looks good everywhere else. So I kind of have to find a good compromise here to some degree, which might be tough. Also, maybe I shouldn't have made the sprite this oval, like, honestly. I actually kind of want to like increase the animation speed there as well. Let's do 36 frames. I might actually change the sprite as well. Just that it looks a bit different. Again, like it's too egg-shaped. I mean, this looks okay, I think. Overall, it's more like... I still don't like the... What I could be doing though is this. Just give it, like, basically have this to be 2 frames. Let's see. Let's see how this looks, and maybe I just change 1 frame here. So, I think one thing that I want to do here. Let's see. Yeah. No, not that. Let's get rid of this. Let's do or maybe let's do it the other way around. Let's see how this looks. I still need 1 for larger projectiles. And I still need to make sure that these look good. I could also do like very simple. No, the darker shape here looks strange. Let's do it this way and see how this looks. I think this looks fine, actually. So one thing I want to try here now is just because it would make things much easier for myself. So remove this from here. And remove this from here and go into, I don't know, it's enemies, enemy projectile. So this is the parent object for every kind of projectile in this game. Let's do an alarm that is most likely not getting used by anything out there. So, also maybe have a bracket here. Okay, so we have this, and now let's just play some levels and see how it looks, I guess. Okay. I think there are two things left that I still want to add to the game. One is I want to rework one of the later boss fights, which hopefully happens next week. Let's see. I mean, this looks good for like, because I looked at this from like with this in mind. The interesting part will be the next upcoming enemies. But yeah, no, that looks fine as well, I think. It disappears quickly enough that it doesn't really matter that like they don't follow the y-axis of the enemy. So yeah, reworking a boss fight. You know, this is also fine. Reworking a boss fight. Hopefully I'll get this done next week. You know, this is also fine. This actually looks good. And the other thing I want to add is I call them lore pages. Which are necessary, and like this is mostly the idea is from in some Kirby stages or like parts of Kirby games, mostly in the extra game modes, not as much in the main games of the later Kirby games. There are like when you pause the game and like scroll through the pages that the pause menu has, there are very often like pages where like I don't know, like parts of the backstory of a boss was explained, and it's like just there, and again it's not very like necessary for like for you to enjoy the game or whatever, but it's like a nice place to play some, I guess, extra information about the motivations of like certain enemies and whatever. And I figured again, like it's not a big deal for me to add another menu to the screen that you like access with like pressing like the left shoulder button instead of the right shoulder button, or like which like you can access by like scrolling through this, where you can just like see, I don't know, like some short story snippet about what this space is and why it's built this way, or when you fight a boss you'll get some short like description about who they are, which is especially kind of interesting, or more interesting for the later bosses, like in the final stages, because those don't have their separate intros. And it's a place for me to like again do a bit more like background explanation that again isn't necessary for the game itself, but like gives some more like because the thing is this game isn't something where I can like front load a lot of exposition, because it's like it would just fall apart. This is a game where you like again like where my main thought about is, okay, what can I do to like motivate people to never stop moving? And if I were to put like stuff in there with exposition or like explanations why Retro Schwan is like evil or whatever, like where you meet an NPC or some shit, or like find an audio log, that's not interesting. That's like you're like completely breaking the rest of the core of what the game is supposed to feel like to play. So, and at the same time, I kind of like the idea to add some stuff in there. Again, that's not necessary, that it isn't even like pointed out to people. It's more like, hey, if you scroll through this, there's like some more extra stuff that you can read that explains why these people are evil. I mean, they're evil because they're capitalists, but some people might need some more reasons to explain this. Like, I don't know, like, why is this looks this place the way it looks like, for example. Also playing the game not in weakness order. But anyway, why is it like a place where there's like fire pits and ice? Why is vintage perspective here, and what is vintage perspective's deal? Or for example, Stave Eminence in his like boss profile has husband written in there. Like who's his partner? I know who his partner is, but in the boss fight that you encounter, I can actually put it in there. Like, this is Stave Eminence's wife. Her name is Murderball. Which I'm very, very, very proud. Anyway. So, and also, like, for example, like, and this is never explained, like, I'm not even really mentioning it overall, but the main villain in this game is someone who calls himself Dr. Boss, DR Boss, like, and what I want to do in the final boss fight is, final boss fight, you know, because it's Dr. Boss, the lore page for him would be, yeah, he's actually not a doctor, his name is Dol Rhombus Boss, and he just shortens it to DR Boss so that people think that he's more smarter and more important than he actually is. And I find this for me, I find this incredibly funny, and this is like, okay, there's like stuff in there, like, again, where I can put this stuff in there without having to find shit that would justify putting it in the game. And this is for me like a good way of doing that, I guess. And again, it's like a good way to flesh some of this stuff more out without having to like think about, okay, how am I going to justify this? I still need to make sure that projectiles get destroyed when bosses die, because I don't want to have a case where you die after you've defeated a boss, because that's bad. The funny thing is, I haven't really paid attention. Let me go back into this stage for a second and just look at the fridges that shoot, just so that I can make sure that it looks okay. Yeah, no, that's not with the game. Let's go back to the overworld. But yeah, again, who is Stave Eminence married to? It's an important thing, like, to know. And again, like, this is also like me thinking about ways, okay, what could I do to make this more interesting to people who really enjoy playing this game? Because again, like, right now I'm operating under the assumption that I'm not getting any kind of like deal done with a publisher or whatever, and like I'm not getting a lot of attention from the game, because this is like how everything currently looks like. I know the number of wishlists this game has, and it's roughly like very much comparable to the state Splinter Zone was in. And Splinter Zone did I think like this game would do a bit better on launch than Splinter Zone, because I kind of knew, I'm fairly certain that I know what went wrong with Splinter Zone launch. And anyway, but it still won't be like a huge amount of players. So what I want to do here is like find a way like where I can, for those people who buy the game and I do find enjoyment in it, to add things to them to kind of like give them something. So okay, yeah, you really like playing the game, here's a bunch of extra backstory that you can read for, like, that doesn't really like do anything, just that you know a bit more about like this weird place that I invented. And again, like, just the idea of having the main villain be someone who is that concerned about his own reputation that he like pretends to have an academic title when he actually doesn't have one. And it also kind of like makes me like makes the oh wow, like that person is just like stealing the idea from Dr. Wily, because the main villain in this Mega Man-like game is also a doctor. But no, Dr. Boss isn't a doctor. Dr. Wily actually is a doctor. His name isn't Dr. Wily. He actually has like a degree. Dr. Boss doesn't have a degree. I also found it, like, this is also something I realized this week, that I mean, there's a company called Hugo Boss, like with Boss in it and all that. Like, it took me this long to realize, wait a sec, there's like an actual company that has this in here. But anyway, like, one thing I probably have to do to make the Dr. Boss work is to have the R in this logo not be lowercase but uppercase. To always show, yeah, it's like, it's too, like, it's just his name abbreviated, just his initial, but it looks like it looks like the abbreviation for doctor, so people call him doctor, but he is not a doctor. Anyway, that's also like one thing I like found out, and like also like one thing why I kind of went ahead and decided, why don't you just try and pitch like larger publishers, like pitch this game to larger publishers and maybe try to make it larger, is I find it fairly easy to communicate what this game is and what you're doing, because I don't have to like for myself, I don't have to pretend that I'm someone else, and I don't have to pretend that this game is something different. Like, I don't have to think about, oh, how can I phrase this that like there's like something interesting in here or whatever, when I'm actually not sure if it's actually interesting. When I can just say, yeah, the villain is someone who says that they're a doctor, but they actually aren't. Their name just like abbreviates to DR. Like, and this communicates everything you need to know about what kind of person you're fighting and all that. And it's also like kind of like poking fun at like, you know, CEOs of big companies being like very much like concerned about reputation more than anything else. But yeah, that's the idea behind it. And like, and again, it's not that you could think about, oh well, this isn't like not a very smart way of doing this or whatever. It's like, again, Kirby games also do this, so I think it's perfectly fine to do this way. And it's not like that Kirby games need this like to be enjoyable. That's the other part. It's more like, okay, hey, if you play these extra game modes, maybe you're more interested in like figuring out what the backstory behind this boss is, or behind these villains, what their motivations are. So here they are. Like, also like just to point out that these things exist, and like someone like spent time to actually think about it, and it's just not, oh yeah, they're evil. Here's a reason why they're evil, or why they chose to like do this kind of stuff. And I kind of appreciate like stuff like this. Anyway, that's kind of the idea. And again, it also gives me more space to like. That was good of me, from me. Gives me more space to like, have some fun with it. Again, like, just to make sure that somewhere mentioned that, yeah, Dr. Boss actually is a doctor. I think it's very important, and I'm like, the reason why I keep repeating this. Also, oh god, this is something I have to do soon. You see this when you do a like downward shot into the water, that there isn't a splash? This has to change. This can't stand, friends. This is unacceptable. Absolutely not acceptable. I'm not very good right now. Also. Anyway, we added another small particle effect. I have no idea how like interesting this stuff is, but right now I don't feel like working on the endless attack mode because there's like still small like incidental work that is like that I have to do or feel like I need to do or want to do like for the game overall. So, and it's also like the kind of work that I would feel strange about like doing during the week when I have like when there's like actual work left to do. So this is kind of the kind of stuff that I feel like comfortable streaming because hey, this takes maybe an hour or two to do, and like it adds something to the game that I would like to add, but that where I have like trouble finding the time for otherwise, and yeah, so that's like where the motivation for this stuff comes from. Anyway, I also love these text boxes. You don't want to. I'm just going to demonstrate what happens when you get hit. Don't touch the snow, friends. Yeah, so that's that. I'm just going to quickly do a thing where you know, get the correct particle like effect when you shoot into the water. Because again, this has to change. Let's go. Quit the game. Player down shot. Step. Okay. Yeah. So this only activates when you shoot outside of outside of water. Otherwise, you will always generate a like splash effect, even though it shouldn't be. So. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, but other than that, I think like depending on how this looks like, I think that's it for today, more or less. Again, it's Sunday. Like, I shouldn't be working at all on Sundays. But something I like had this week again is that I was incredibly bored when I wasn't working on this game, which wasn't like this isn't good in the sense that like it can lead to you like overworking yourself to some degree. So I have to be mindful of that. This isn't going to be like a permanent like state. At the same time, it's not that I did like a lot or like a ton of work. Like yeah. You see, this looks so much better. I think like like it really depends on like where the sprite is. Sometimes it looks strange, but I feel like sometimes there's like a 1 pixel gap or like 1 or 2 pixels, but ugh, who cares? Yeah, and this doesn't generate a splash, but this does. So everything is good. Yeah, cool, awesome. So again, we did some small stuff, but it did add, or like it does add more polish to everything. It does add more like visual fidelity to stuff. And again, this is kind of the state, like, or like also like a reflection of the game state overall, where like when you have everything else in place and like overall like the movement and the like playing the game itself feels nice enough, there comes a point where basically these small additions are the like kind of work that you can still do or could do, and it still adds a lot. Like the effects I added over the last 2 weeks like were part of my reason to decide to say maybe I could make the game larger, because I kind of want to have more space to play in with. I kind of want to have more levels to play through, because playing the game is nice and it's over fairly quickly. I was thinking, oh, why? I wish for there to be more, but at the same time, I have to justify like more stuff there. Like again, I have planned to add the endless attack mode either way, so that will come at some point, probably in early 2022 or whatever, because it takes time, and I'm like at some point again, depending on how things go, but again, if someone gives me a pile of money and says make the game larger, like the endless attack mode will be in there from the start. If I'm going to release the game on roughly in the time frame that I was planning on releasing it before, like doing all of this, it will be in there in a later update, because again, time and like where you like put your resources that you have and all that, you have to like again be mindful of things and like your limitations and your resources and all that good stuff. But anyway, I think that's it from my end. It's good that like right at the like beginning of the outro I decided to put the music back on. Anyway, yeah, so that was that. Like I'm going to like keep working on this stuff. There will be another devlog tomorrow on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. I'll also upload the archive of this stream over there, maybe today, who knows, if I think about that, if I like don't forget it. Aside from that, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for like the support that the people have already given this game, this project, and all of this. It's still great to really have the confidence to even say, yeah, I can finish this, and I could even do more on this, and I'm like fairly confident that I can do this and pull this off like at a degree of quality that would justify all of this and like justify asking for like money for it and all that. It's been a few years since I felt that way, honestly. So that's been great. And yeah, if you want to support this, again, you can always buy a copy of Splinter Zone. That helps a lot. I will probably get another payout from Steam in August, because the Steam sale. At some point, I should maybe talk a little bit about that. But Splinter Zone has been doing like surprisingly well this year, and I partially blame me kind of like doing some work in the back end of it and like on the Steam page, like improving the Steam page. I uploaded a new trailer, like changed the graphical assets a little bit, and it seemed to have done some work. Like it's been going really well this year, and I'm very grateful for it. But anyway, if you want to support my work, you can always do that, and please wishlist GB Rover. It would mean a lot to me if this does well, and I'm trying my best. And you can see what kind of game it is, and if it's something that interests you, like go ahead and wishlist it and like wait for it to come out. There's also an email newsletter you can follow. Links are all in the video description and also on the Twitch page when if you're watching it there. And you can also follow @Mokograd on Twitter, where I'm going to post about like game updates, gifs from like what I'm currently doing and all that kind of stuff, and overall general announcements. So that's all the stuff you can do. Links are everywhere that you can do those things. And aside from that, I hope you have a nice rest of your Sunday. Have a nice week. And I see you soon. Bye.